Hello everyone, and welcome to our video about snowstorms, a classic classroom closure activity. But before we get started, here's a little joke for you. We got more snow than Buffalo this year. Wow, really? Yep, so far we got about 18 inches of snow and not a single buffalo. You must be asking yourself, what is a snowstorm activity? It's a closure activity that ends a lesson and helps create a lasting impression on students. This activity will help you to check for understanding and inform subsequent instruction to make sure that you know what the students know and what they don't know. It'll also help you emphasize key information, tie up loose ends and questions that students might have, and also correct any misunderstandings that have arisen. This activity works best as a closure. It should be done at the end of the period, not the beginning. This activity tends to get students a little bit riled up, and that's okay. That's sort of the point. The cognitive workload required for this activity is quite low. You've already done the heavy lifting, but like contracting your bicep at the top of a dumbbell curl, this activity will squeeze a little extra oomph into the lesson. Here are the mechanics. Here's how it works. First, give students a small slip of paper and have them write down something that they learned about the lesson. What do they write on the paper? Anything. A word that they learned, a new grammar point, a part of a story that they liked, something that you said that made them feel good, how they felt during the lesson. Anything works. Just make sure they get something on the paper. Now here's the fun part. When they're finished, they wad that piece of paper up into a ball. Then in my classroom, I have students stand up, push in their chairs, and throw the paper at the front of the room. That's the snowstorm. Then, like after any blizzard, you've got to clean up. But you don't clean up, students do. Tell students to walk to the front of the classroom and find a new paper. Now, depending on what type of prompt you have given, students will either open their paper and go back to their desk to complete it, or go line up at the door. Whichever direction you choose to go with this activity, it always ends up in the same place, with students lined up at the door and you checking their work. This gives you an opportunity to get some face time with each student, make sure that everyone has done the work correctly, and give you a chance to say goodbye and leave on a high note. As with any good activity, there are a ton of possibilities. These can be altered or blended, and they're great opportunities to correct, clarify, and celebrate. Here are some of my favorite variations. My number one favorite is word association. I will write a word on the board and have students write a word that they associate with it on the paper. For example, if I write monkey on the board, some students might write tree, or banana, or animal, brown, wild, zoo. Then they'll crumple the paper up, throw it to the front, find a new one, and write another word association. Another goodie is story illustration. You have students pick one sentence from a story that you have read. Draw that sentence, and then throw it to the front. Then they'll pick one up, line up at the door, and tell you what they see. Picture descriptions are pretty similar to story illustrations. However, with picture description, your students can use their imagination. You give them 10, 20, 30 seconds to draw whatever they want. Crumple it up, throw it to the front of the room, pick up a new paper, line up, and then tell you what they see. They could tell you a word, they could tell you a sentence, or they could elaborate and tell you an entire story. A word chain, or an elephant game, has students write a word on the piece of paper, for example, apple, A-P-P-L-E, crumple it up, throw it to the front of the room, and then get a new paper. When they open up that paper, they must write a new word that begins with the last letter of the old word. For example, if it ends with E, they pick elephant, E-L-E-P-H-A-N-T. And to recap, in a snowstorm, students write down what they learned on a piece of scrap paper and wad it up. Given a signal, they throw their paper snowballs in the air. Then each learner picks up a nearby response and completes the task. How about you? Do you use a closure activity that's similar or different to this one? If you do, please feel free to share it in the comments. Thanks, and have a great day.